Hi, my name's Nate the Maker, and today we're going to make custom battery packs for BB8. So I'm going to be making this battery pack out of 20 nickel metal hydride batteries. They have 1.2 volts, 10,000 milliamps. I'm going to be putting them in a combo circuit to eventually get 12 volts in the system. I went with nickel metal hydride because of the weight. I'm going to be using this in my flywheel system, and it's going to be easier to charge and much less dangerous than a LiPo. I'm going to be using 20 of these batteries, and the first thing I'm going to need is a way to hold them. This will do. So these are little 3D printed cages that I'm going to use. Each one holds 5, and they'll be held in series. So these fit in right there. This will be upside down. Hold right side up on that one. Upside down again. And right side up. So each one fits in like that. Lid comes up. Lid fits on top. You'll notice this is V8. Let's go into how the first 7 looked. So this is all 8 versions of the battery cage that I printed. Unfortunately, just smacking the table and getting a good battery pack right out of the gate doesn't happen every time. So the first version I printed using the dimensions off the website, and as you can see, the slots are nowhere near deep enough. And when I tried to put in the batteries, they just jiggled around and they didn't fit very well. It was way too big. V2 is when I got the batteries and I measured using a micrometer. The tolerance was pretty good. As you can see, there's some green in here that's actually the veneer on the batteries, and it started to rub off because it was way too tight. Not much change between V1, V2, except for I made the depth of the battery slots much deeper just to hold the batteries, give them a little more oomph. V3, I widened the holes just a little bit, and it was just to make sure I kept getting a better and better fit each time. That was kind of the same between V3, V4, V5, V6. As you notice, I didn't print a V3 and V4 of the base just because it'd be a waste of plastic. By the time I got to V6, I had a good fit on the battery, but I hadn't figured out a way to install any of the electronics. I had these little slots, so as soon as the battery is completely ready to go and installed, it'll just get slotted in there and the tabs will be exposed to the rest of the battery pack. V7 here has the chamfered battery slots, whereas V6 they're straight, and that was just causing more problems with the fit of the battery, and adding that helped quite a bit. So as you can see, making a part isn't just A to B. Sometimes you got to go through a ton of revisions just to get it right. Now you eagle-eyed viewers out there may have actually already seen this layout before, and I've posted this picture over on my website and my Instagram, and if you haven't seen that, check out my Instagram. But on the website, I've gone through each version and detailed what I did to change each step and how I went from this V1 all the way down to V8, which I'm going to be using in this build. So now that we have our version 8, we will not be needing these anymore. So I have 20 batteries, and these boxes only hold 5. So we're gonna need 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now that we have all 20, we're ready to get going. But you should be asking yourself why they're in a circle formation, and this is because I want them to be on a flywheel. There's gonna be this lazy Susan in the middle, and what this is gonna do is hold on to the batteries on the outside, and these are gonna spin freely inside BB8. Now what I'm hoping this is there's enough counterweight in the batteries that BB8 will be able to spin the other direction while this is moving. Now, these are all fine and dandy by themselves, but they need to be connected to each other. So, there's this piece, and this piece, and what these are gonna do is just run wire between one box to the other. So that'll go there, and this will go here and here. And then to bring everything all together in the middle, there'll be one switch box. In this case, we're gonna have a little toggle switch. This is on and off for BB8. It'll have a relay. The relay will fit back here. And what this is gonna do is allow me to have a wireless receiver to turn BB8 on and off as well. So this will be the main power from the battery, and then BB8 will be able to turn on and off wirelessly from outside the ball, so I don't have to keep flipping this switch every time. then there will be a fuse. And what this is going to do is prevent any type of weird accident where the battery is either short or BB8 shorts to protect the battery, and there's only going to be so much current flowing through this, and I'll put in a 20 amp fuse right in there, and this is going to just stick out this little middle part. This is just a safety feature, but I want to make sure this BB8 lasts, so we're going to include it. It's also going to include a power cord, and this has an XT60 connector on it, and that's the same connector I'm going to use on my battery charger, and so we'll have a positive, really good connection between the charger and BB8 when we're doing this. Now in this formation, I have 10 in series, 10 in series, and I'll put both of those in parallel, giving me the 12 volts I need plus 20,000 milliamps. That should be plenty to run BB8. And for those of you who don't know, when you put batteries in series, they're going to share their current and they're going to increase in voltage. And when you put batteries in parallel, they're going to share the voltage and increase in current. And what this is going to do is allow me to take one of these cells, which is 1.2 volts and 10,000 milliamps, and if I put 10 in a row, that'll be 10 in series. 1.2 times 10 will be the 12 volts I need. And then if I put all 10 of those in parallel with another 10, I'll get the 20,000 milliamps I need. But all right, enough about the entire battery system. Let's go focused on one cage and get these all soldered up, and then we'll do the other three, and then we'll start putting them all together. Let's do it. Now, you will notice these batteries don't look like normal ones. They have these little tabs on there, and what these are just little nickel strips that have been spot welded to the battery at each terminal. Now, if I had one of those and I could spot weld these, I would connect each one in the exact same way, but I don't. I only have a soldering gun, so I'm gonna have to be very careful to not apply too much heat to these batteries, but only to the tabs and connecting them as quick as possible. All right, let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is take out 5 batteries, take the protective shrink wrap off of them from the factory. And I gotta be real careful with these because I don't want to break any of these pins. Yeah, if I just do it carefully, slowly, they come off, and now I have exposed pins ready to solder. Alright, now that I have all the wires exposed, what I'm going to do is start placing them inside this battery cage. The next one will have this positive connect to a negative on top, like this. So it'll be bang, bang, and then this positive will connect to a negative down below, from there to there. Then this positive will connect to a negative up top, from here to here. This positive will connect to the negative down here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to fold it up and over very carefully because I do not want to break these tabs. I'm going to fold them just the once and then apply a little pressure to create a seal. We're good to go from there. Cool. Apply some solder to the bottom, get back up, melt this solder, and squeeze it together. Make sure I have some melted, good connection between the 2 batteries. Wait for the solder to cool down, and that's it. Nice and quick, and these are soldered together. Cool. Make sure both sides are hot, so it makes a solid connection between the 2. Wait for the solder to cool down. Boom, there we go, another solder joint in the books. Oh, we're gonna put the lid on, and we're gonna flip this over, and then we're gonna carefully remove the base. So if we notice, we have our connections underneath here and here, so we want to make sure not to connect these batteries to each other, but only the ones that we want to make jumpers across. So this one's going to be a jumper. Probably can turn this down a little bit. Seems like it's a little hot. Take this guy and we'll bend him down. Cool. So one more, we make sure that we see our connection down below, so we'll not connect these two together. This one does not have a connection, so we'll take this, soldering gun, and the tweezers, and keep doing the same thing over and over again. Slide this back on as best as we can. Flip it back over, and look at that. Now we have one power bank. So the next step is to take this, should probably label these. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing with this piece as I did with this guy. I'm gonna put them in the same direction. And then this will be this half of the battery cage with a negative pointing in. Because of how I arrange this, it looks like I'm going to have a positive on this side, and that just means I'm going to be running the positive line up to the top. It may also notice that there is no space right now for putting in that wire, so I'm actually printing new V8s of these lids, and if you can listen closely, you can still hear they're a work in progress. Cool. Now let's add 5 more batteries to this. So I was kind of stupid and I ordered the exact amount of batteries that I needed. Now it's not really a problem, but normally you don't order the exact amount of stuff because something's bound to go wrong. You always order extras. Now, I don't know why I'm saying that now, as I still have some to do. Probably not the play, but we should be okay. Alright, now that's the last tab I have to cut off for this. Gotta be honest, I was really scared about messing with these tabs because they're thin. Put this guy in the middle, and then run our positive lead from here all the way down just somewhere out here. And then this negative lead will go in and pop out right there. Now we're going to take our heat shrink and we're going to put it on this way, just so that it's facing the right direction, because that could be important. I don't have a heat gun, so I'm just going to heat up the solder. And by solder, I mean I'm going to heat up this heat shrink carefully with my soldering gun so I don't burn it. But you can see it still works. It starts to get a little smaller, shrink if you will. Bring this over, place, heat up, make sure both sides melt, and then let it cool. So now we're ready to put this thing together. I'm also not sure if I remembered to make these holes a little bit bigger. I think I did. We're gonna grab the drill just in case. Pop off. Now the print is close enough, but I just want a better circle, and sometimes the print doesn't give you the perfect sized hole. That's just my printer. Take our screws. And bam, just like that, we have 1/4 of the battery pack assembled. All we gotta do is push this together so that this sits there. Attach this negative lead to this positive lead, and then bring this positive line all the way across to this side, and then give myself some extra room over here, and then attach another negative lead right here with some extra room just to play with later while we connect all the power in the battery case. and tape that off. Boom. So now we have our full battery on this side. Let's check the voltage. Positive there, or negative there. Positive here. And we got 12.93 volts. So should be good to go there. And that's a good battery. So eventually my batteries will go on this Lazy Susan and they'll sit on the outside. For now, I don't have that piece made or printed. It's eventually going to be an inner ring made out of metal, and I'm not exactly sure the dimensions yet because they need to fit on here, and it needs to raise the battery pack about 1/4 of an inch. I'm just going to cut out a circle from this piece of wood so I can attach the battery pack to that, and it'll sit on here. So it'll keep everything in one unit while I figure out the rest of the design. Now I have this piece of wood. I'm gonna go ahead and attach it to this Lazy Susan and then drill out the holes in here so it'll attach to the battery pack. And then we'll have a temporary holder for the battery pack while I figure out the exact thing that'll probably be made out of metal to hold onto this. So it turns out the holes on the Lazy Susan don't go all the way through, so I'm gonna bring them over to the drill press and just make sure I push it all the way through, make sure they're a perfect 90 degrees. I'm pretty sure it's all metal in there, so it shouldn't hit the bearing at all. But we will find out on the first one, won't we? All right, so I have my temporary Lazy Susan. I have my battery packs. It's time to actually take these apart and then put them on here. So we need them apart, probably 2 at a time would be best. And then we'll put the batteries in the lid in the meantime, and then install the bottoms, put some electric tape over the bottom, and then we'll be good to go. Basically like this. Put that one there. And then we'll put this one there. Cool. So move this out of the way for a second. Come back over here. Run some screws through. Now there's a little bit of countersink on top, but it's not much. So we'll just have to hope this fits all the way. The countersinks are working actually pretty well. It's pretty flush against the bottom, which is nice because I was just guessing on that 3D model for how big these were going to be. All right, we're going to flip it over. So first thing I gotta do is I got the new cover off the printer yesterday, and it's got screws from the back. I got 4 in there, so this will fit in, and it's got the corresponding screw holes. Now what I gotta do is figure out how to get all this wiring to fit inside here. I have some wire nuts that I'm gonna use to hold the positive and negative leads together. Then I've pre-installed some connectors for the switch, as well as some connectors for the relay itself. Now my biggest concern here is that there's a lot of extra wire everywhere, and there's not a lot of space inside this box. So all these negative leads are going to get pulled into one place. They get connected to the battery terminal, as well as to the main power switch, and to the relay switch. So let's get that done. I've given myself some extra room here So I think this is probably going to end up all converging right here. And that's probably a great place for it to be. So I gotta cut all of the lines so that they're about this long and ready to go. So we're gonna put our switch through first. I forgot to drill out that hole a little bit more, but run this ring back over. So I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. The switch works, the fuse works, the line to the battery works, the line to the load works. I tried it on a motor, I tried it with the multimeter. It's all good. This custom battery pack is now completely ready for BB8. Before we finish this, there was a couple of things that I was really scared about doing in this project, and it was soldering these tabs because they were really flimsy, and if I broke one, I didn't have any extra batteries to go back and fix. I'd have to wait for a completely new shipment to come in, and then I'd still be even more scared because I already broke one. The other thing was getting all the wires into this box. I didn't think I was gonna have enough space this entire time getting the wires in here, and this is like my third or fourth iteration of this box. So I kept going back and forth and figuring out, how do I make sure I can get everything to fit inside here? And it ended up working out in the end because I took the time to think about it and iterate and go from plan A all the way down to like plan C or D or whatever. And sometimes that's just what you gotta do. Sometimes you're scared about starting something or a specific part of a project, but trust me, if you just go for it, take your time, think it through, you'll be able to make whatever you want. Thank you for watching. I hope you go out and make a battery pack of your own or anything else. Just do something, make something in your free time. If you make anything, let me know down in the comments, and I'd love to talk to you about it. Thank you.